Here we go.
Awesome.
All right.
Come on over.
Come on down.
My trusty little digital.
Hey guys, everybody, thanks for being here. Now what is this? Now this is cool.
This is a cool little digital recorder. It's called a Zoom H4 handy recorder. It is very handy.
I've never seen one like that. I want one now.
It is great. It is so versatile, easy to use.
It looks like something like from like Star Wars.
It looks like
you're ready for
Star
something
Trek
to
phaser
because
or
this
something.
little thing at the top.
Yeah,
is that the microphone?
These are the microphones that come built in on it. You can plug in XLR microphones. Got phantom power. It can be a 4-track machine if you need it to be. So if you're recording demos on the road or something, you want to record several instruments, you can use it as a digital 4-track.
Very nice.
Very easy to use. It's only like $200. It's a very
Wow.
cool little machine. Great for podcasting.
Yeah.
Great for podcasting. So very lightweight too.
I can see it. The way you're holding it,
Yeah,
I can tell
it's
it's like
deceiving
really.
because it's kind of big. It's kind of bulky in size.
But it just seems
it's
real.
super light.
Right.
So
Nice.
there we go.
Very
So
cool.
Matt, let me start with the basics. I know a lot of people in the chat room, everyone in here, is going to be bored with this question. But tell me a little bit about GoGirls Music.
You know, I can just do this in my sleep. I've been asked that a gazillion times. And basically, GoGirls is the oldest and largest online community of independent women in music. Our mission is to promote, support, and empower our members. And that's what we do constantly. I mean, events like this, coming here to Memphis at Folk Alliance, this is now our 5th year to do this. And it's all about bringing all these women in music. And the only requirement is 1 female in a group.
Okay.
So, you know,
That's
we're not
flexible.
totally exclusive. And, you know, we come here, we showcase, we're putting on the event here in the room. We've got a booth downstairs. And when we have booths at conferences, I encourage our members, you know, come be a part of it, come hang out. You know, that's what these girls have been doing. They're all getting to know each other, they're becoming friends, and now they like want to, you know, hang out and do things and collaborate. And, you know, we're going to do a little impromptu jamming after we're done here. And that's just from bringing all these girls together, which is just really cool. Women like to be part of a community is what I found. So
for some boys.
yes, of course, of course.
Thank you for welcoming me into the GoGirls room. So I want to ask you some questions about market planning and artist careers. My first question is the basics. The name of the book that we're writing, Peter Spellman and I, is called Your Successful CD Release. And, you know, 2 years ago that's the title we used. And now I'm like, okay, it's 2010. Am I still going to call it Your Successful CD Release? In your opinion, are CDs still relevant as a format for independent artists?
That's such a good question because I'm all about digital. I mean, here, you know, I don't like to really say I'm a pioneer, but I am. I mean, I started an online organization in January 1996, the beginning of 1996. This was when most people had not even heard of .com yet.
Yeah.
And I saw the potential for this, and I saw that we could use the power of the internet and use this to communicate and do things. And when digital media really started, like when mp3.com came out, that site, I was like, oh yeah, you know, how cool that we can have our music in a digital format and listen to without having to go and wait for a CD to come in the mail. So I started thinking, this is the future, this is what we're going to see, you know, it's the MP3s. And it's interesting because I read a lot of blogs, I read a lot of articles, and a lot of people in the industry say, CDs are not dead. You still need CDs, you still need to print them, you still need to have them. And I'm a little bit in the middle. I believe that, yes, if you're touring and you're out there, you got to have a CD in your hand, definitely. But when it comes to promoting yourself online, people want digital. You know, iTunes really took off. I knew it would. I knew iTunes would totally go. And I think most people want to purchase in that format when they're online and they stumble upon your site and they love your music and it's just quick and easy instead of having to wait for that physical CD to come in the mail. Because we've become this society of right now, like Twitter, right? What's going on? You know, if we went to Twitter right now and did the hashtag, which is the # FAI, which stands for Folk Alliance International, 10 for 2010, FAI 10, you will see just within the last probably 30 seconds a whole handful of things that are going on right here in this hotel. So we're all about right now, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And tiring at times, you know?
Indeed, indeed. Well, that's what I'm finding. In terms of CDs, I've interviewed probably a few dozen artists here at the Folk Alliance, and those that are touring say unanimously, I need a CD.
Absolutely.
Next time I make an album, I'm still going to press CDs because people want the physical, tangible item when they go home. When they're sitting at home, not watching you live, they want the digital.
That's right.
It's instant gratification. You hear a great song, you want to hear it right now.
Right.
Until a lot of live venues get Wi-Fi networks, and it's coming.
Right.
The venue that I run, we have Wi-Fi, and I've sat there behind the bar watching artists buying their songs on iTunes.
That's great.
As they're performing live in front of me.
Yeah.
It's going straight to my iPod.
That's awesome.
So maybe it'll move to that, who knows, but for
Yeah,
now,
right.
I think you make a great point. If you're touring, CDs are probably still relevant.
They are, but what I'm seeing though is because digital media is so big now, is that what I'm seeing artists do is shorter runs of CDs.
Yes.
That's the big thing. Instead of going out and doing, 5,000 or even 1,000 copies. For most artists I know, they would typically go out and do 1,000 CDs to start that CD release and getting it out there. But now they're looking at maybe 200, 500, just much more shorter runs because they're also banking on those digital sales. And I think that's a great way to go. But I do agree, CDs are still
Fair
important.
enough. This is a bit of a tricky question, but what's your opinion on what a realistic sales goal for CDs would be for an independent artist for their first album?
Wow, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Ooh, you ask good, tough questions. That's really hard and so subjective, because really, if you're touring, you're going to sell more music. Bottom line, we all talk about it at these conferences, me and my industry friends. The bottom line is you got to get out there and play shows.
Yeah.
A lot of people say to me, because I do a lot of coaching and consulting with independent artists, I've been doing that for a very long time now. A lot of them say, you know what? Maybe it's like I'm older or I have kids at home or whatever. They got reasons that they just can't get out and play, and I understand that. And I think that's great. You still want to put out your music, but it is so much harder to sell your music strictly online. And so, if you're out playing shows, you don't have to necessarily tour, but if you're just out playing regularly, you'll definitely do. But also, you gotta have great music. If your music is not just the most amazing, buzzworthy thing going on out there where everybody's like, oh my God, so there's so many things to take into consideration. So it's really a hard question to answer.
Fair enough. Let's say an artist wants to make a full-time living as a musician. Is selling 500 CDs, 1,000 CDs, 5,000 CDs, 10,000 CDs, what range do you figure?
Well, that's also subjective because some people can live so cheaply, there are people out there that, will sit here and, go out and tour by, living on floors at friends' houses across the country and shopping at Goodwill and, doing these things that, where you can live so cheaply. So, they could actually live off of maybe $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year. But the bottom line is, though, with what you're saying is you got to have a plan. The bottom line is you got to have a plan. I know you know this because you write about it. But that really is put it down on paper and how much do you need? What will it take for you to live full time as a musician? How many? And you got to do some math. How many CDs do I need to sell? And that can also help you set your pricing on the CD. And do I need to get out and try to tour a little bit and make some money with paid gigs and merchandise sales, selling T-shirts, selling things. So again, subjective.
Subjective, I guess bottom line, depending on the artist's personal financial
It really
goals.
does, because I've seen some bands, when I'm out traveling, I see some bands that, have a really great thing going. They're out there touring, they got a great sound, but they may have a little gimmick to go with it. I've seen bands, sell like thong underwear and make a ton of money, but it ties into something with the cute name of the band or the way they do their logo or the way, who their audience is, and that they just sit here and just make a lot of money in ways like that, you look at a solo singer-songwriter trying to tour, and it's a totally different situation.
Exactly. How do you recommend, when you talk to artists, if they ask you how they get their CD distributed online, who do you recommend? Is like CD Baby kind of like the place to go? There's TuneCore that does digital only. There's a variety of ways for bands to sort of get their music.
I recommend TuneCore.
You do, eh?
I've been a fan of TuneCore, and the reason why is I know Jeff Price. He actually came to me when he was putting together the model. And this was back when CD Baby was really the only place you could go to do digital distribution. And it's a great question because a lot of people with my coaching consulting come to me with this, and it's one of the first things they'll ask me. Should I use CD Baby? Should I use TuneCore, Reverb Nation? And I love Reverb Nation. I've worked with them for years. I like TuneCore, CD Baby. I'll just kind of say no comment. No, what I'm gonna say about CD Baby, this is what I say, and you know what, people, I always tell people bottom line, go with, do your research, go with what you're comfortable with, whatever feels right to you. My feeling on CD Baby, and this is what I tell people, with CD Baby, they're gonna take a percentage of every sale. That's the way they're set up, and it's the way they are. If you're gonna expect to sell your music, they're gonna take a percent of every sale of your digital sales, okay? TuneCore does not do that. TuneCore, and when Jeff first came to me and was explaining the way his model was, I thought, that's a smart way to do it. Basically, they charge you a flat fee. The way he told me the story, which I thought was so cute, he's like, think of us as, either use UPS or FedEx, I forgot which one, I think he said UPS. He says, we're just the delivery service. You pay us the fee, we're delivering it for you. And I thought, that's the way to go. To me, that's really smart. And I've watched his company grow. I've never heard anybody complain. Okay, I've heard people complaining about CD Baby. I've never heard anybody complain about TuneCore. Now then there's Reverb Nation. I love Reverb Nation. But I've yet to hear anybody tell me that they've used Reverb Nation to do the digital distribution. And I've been around the business for over 14 years. I like to go with, when I make recommendations, it's based on the feedback. So there's nothing against Reverb Nation. But once I hear some great feedback about, I haven't had anybody say anything bad about it, but I've yet to hear anybody tell me that they actually used it for digital distribution. Once I, hear some great responses from people, then, then I may change, my answer on that. But TuneCore has been doing a great job. They've been doing it a long time now, and I'm very impressed with how they do it.
Fair enough. Nimbit.
I love Nimbit, and I'll tell you why. Now, the thing is about Nimbit, and I was just talking with Patrick earlier. I did the social network panel, the beginners panel this morning, and he was coming in as I was leaving to do the advanced one. And we've spoken on a panel together years ago. We haven't seen each other, I think, since then. So we're chatting it up, and I told him, I said, we really need to chat when we're after this weekend, because you guys are doing a lot of cool things. I've seen on Facebook, on fan pages, the stuff they're doing. I think this, and here's the thing, because other people have asked me too. Like I had a question earlier, Nimbit or Reverb Nation. I'm like, here's the thing, Nimbit and Reverb Nation. Okay, I'm a techie girl. Okay, of all these companies, Nimbit and Reverb Nation are the techie companies for musicians, and the techie guys know their stuff. And I have been impressed with both companies from day one, because they're doing very innovative things. So I'm not really up to speed on Nimbit right now. I will be very soon, and I'll probably be doing some stuff with them. But I've always been impressed with the things they've done, and I've never heard anybody say anything negative. So.
I met Patrick today for the first time. He seems like
a great guy.
Nice guy.
Great guy.
Nice guy, And a good friend of Peter Spellman's as well, so we have that mutual thing.
Well, anybody that's a friend of Peter.
That's right. Peter's like.
I love Peter.
One of the nicest guys and one of the brilliant minds in the music industry.
Very smart.
Very smart man. Very smart man. Here's a question: how much time should artists spend on business activities?
They should spend a lot more than they do. But here's where it really is a balancing act. Because on one hand, you need to be developing your craft. You need to be the best of the best. You need to, rehearse. You need to just work on every aspect of your music, the whole creative side. But then there's this whole business side, and that's why a lot of people come to me for business advice, because a lot of people say, okay, I've recorded my music, I got a CD, now what? What do I do? And it takes a lot of planning, preparation. There's so much you got to do. It is time consuming. But we're in this whole DIY, do-it-yourself, indie world. And you've got to take the bull by the horns and learn business stuff. And it's not necessarily like, how do I be a musician, and how do I learn the business side of the music business? Business is business. I tell people a lot of times when I'm doing workshops on the music business, I say, you can learn so much from reading books on sales and marketing. I tell indie artists all the time, you have to think of yourself as a salesperson. A lot of indie artists don't. They just cannot put their head around it. They can't wrap their head around that. And I say, think about it. You're on stage, you're playing your music. What are you doing? You're selling yourself, you're selling your music. You have to think like a salesperson. Read books on sales. One of my favorite books, and this is from years and years and years ago when I used to be in a totally different industry in sales, is called The Sales Bible. And it's just a basic, it has a lot of, like cold calling, which I don't like or believe in, but just, there's a lot of basic tools in there that can help you in any business that involves sales. And so I tell people, go read blogs and go subscribe to newsletters and learn about basic sales and marketing, because it'll help you in the music business.
Yeah, and branding also is becoming a
Branding's
more
very
and
big.
more
I've
important.
always been big on branding.
Yeah.
What drives me crazy, and one of my pet peeves is when an artist, you go to their website, it looks one way. You go to their Facebook, different picture. You go to their MySpace, a different picture. Everything is different. There's no branding.
It's
And
not
I always tell people,
cohesiveness,
here's what's interesting. I'm the face of GoGirls Music. Okay, so I used to hide behind GoGirls, and actually for a very long time in the early years, in the 90s, people thought it was a teenager or 20-something running, Go. It's like, not a teenager. But I would hide behind the logo. I didn't even have a bio about me, nothing, And then I started realizing, well, wait a minute. I run this whole thing. I do all this stuff. I travel and do this. So I am truly the face of GoGirls. So I started realizing, okay, I got to be like artists. I need to put a bio. I need to put my picture. And when MySpace first started, back into like 2004, 2005. At first I put the GoGirls logo. I was already like the face of GoGirls and doing that on the website. But on MySpace, at first I did our logo and I thought, well, wait a minute. This is a social network site. That was all new, and it was all about one-on-one connections. I thought, you know what, it needs to be my face. I'm the one out at these events. I'm the one everywhere. And what was amazing is I used the same picture. I mean, I still pretty much look the same as I did back. I don't really look a whole lot different from that actual picture y'all see everywhere of me going like that is from 2004. I was in New York at a GoGirls. It was a Music Cares benefit we did for GoGirls for them at Arlene's Grocery. It was an awesome, awesome show. And that picture was taken by a professional photographer right outside Arlene's Grocery. And it was such a great picture. And that has been my branded GoGirls look. And I will use it consistently on Twitter and Facebook and MySpace and everything. And branding is extremely important. And artists and bands, really should embrace that. It's all about, go study Nike and Coca-Cola and all these big brands. You got to think of yourself as a brand too.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a total easy question for you. How important is social networking for independent artists?
Very important. I've been preaching that since before people were like, oh, that's MySpace. Twitter, especially Twitter. I've been Twittering for over 2 years when it was more like a techie tool, like all the techie nerds were doing it. And only a handful of people in the music business were doing it. And I was actually at the ASCAP Expo 2 years ago, it'll be 2 years this April. And I was like, I had just gotten my iPhone, and I was like, I'm going to Twitter, I'm going to microblog the whole time I'm there. And I told one person at ASCAP that I was doing that. Word got out because all of a sudden, blogging, I mean, I'm watching John Bon Jovi getting interviewed live, and I am Twittering his responses in real time. And responses from people were just amazing, and word got out about this, and I mean, it came full circle. People were all talking about it, and then on the last day, the guy at ASCAP was like, they're all like, yeah, people are like talking about somebody, doing some kind of blogging on, Twitter, and I was being very low-key about it. But I think social networks, are so important. It's all about that one-on-one connecting, and it's just like in sales. And you go to any, old-school sales book, it all says the same thing. And this is one of the things I've always preached. People like to help people that they like. People like to buy from people they like. I like you. You're a very likable guy. So if, we're sitting here doing this interview because you asked, and I'm like, sure, of course, And if you said, by the way, Madalyn, I'm playing this show later tonight, come over and see me, and I like you, I'd be very inclined, And if I was if I didn't know you, but I really liked you and I liked your music, I would be very inclined to buy your music. That's what sales it. People just like to help and buy and do and support from others that they like.
Yeah, like a friend.
Exactly. So with social networks is building those one-on-one, for some people it's frustrating. It's like, I want it all and I want it now. That's not what social media, social networks, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's baby steps. People are like, I got my Facebook fan page, but I've only got 10 fans. There's no rush. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and have 20,000 fans. It's not like MySpace where the next day you got like 500 new friends.
Yeah, exactly. So what platforms should artists be on?
For social
for
networks?
social networks?
Well, we talked about that on my panel today,
Yep.
and I'm a firm believer in MySpace, Facebook, and Twitter as your top 3 that are must-haves.
Yep.
Now, the thing is, and I mentioned this on the panel, Twitter's not for everybody, and I totally understand that. I get that. But I tell people anyway, get Twitter because at least have the name you want. So it's twitter.com. I have twitter.com/GoGirlsMusic, twitter.com/Madalyn Sklar. Do you think I want to have 2 separate? No. But I do it. You know what? I figure I'll have one that's like geared towards GoGirls, one that's my, Madalyn Sklar. At first it was a few years ago. Oh, I'll be like more personal. But everybody knows my name through the business, so it's a little bit more business oriented. And I have one for social networks for musicians, which is SN4M. I actually actively do 3 Twitter accounts, which I think is crazy, but I want the names.
Yeah.
I don't have to actively use them, but at least I have the names.
Yeah, that's great advice.
So I tell bands to do that. And same thing with Reverb Nation. Same thing with all these sites. Facebook, and the thing is about Facebook with the fan pages, I get this a lot. Last summer when they started the whole thing where you could get your URL, facebook.com/whatever. First it was for your personal profile, so everybody went and got their name. And for all the singer-songwriters and solo performers, it kind of got screwed because then after a while Facebook said, okay, if you have a fan page, now you can go do it. But first you have to have 1,000 fans. Well, who the heck has 1,000 fans on Facebook? So after a while they dropped it down from 1,000 to 100. And some of us were like, oh, we got 100, so we go get it. But then for the solo people, they're like, well, I already have my name and it's my personal profile. So I always tell people, get your name and put music on the end. So like Dave Cool Music, you had Dave Cool already for your personal, then get Dave Cool Music. Makes sense. And actually, a client of mine I work with, they liked fans, so her name and then fans. And I thought that was a good one, very good. So get creative. So with Facebook, you want to get your name. And then MySpace, of course, everybody has MySpace already. So Reverb Nation is a very good site, so I think that's also a good one to have, and also get your name. So I think those are the top 3, and then the Reverb Nation is a good add-on to that because of the widgets and all the great things you can do with it.
I thought that was great advice about Twitter. I mean, at least get your name so that it's, because maybe you'll want the option later to use it. Because I'll be honest, I was on Twitter a year ago. I stayed for 2 days.
And that was it.
And that was it. I got my name. Thankful for that. And used it for a couple days. I was like, what is this? I don't get this. And I didn't go back for a year.
A lot of people did that because you know what happened? I was on Twitter. It was not a big deal. And it was no spammers. It was actually pretty cool. And then I kind of blame CNN because all of a sudden CNN just went crazy because it was that story about the guy in Egypt that got arrested and Twittered from jail. I think it was an American, and then it just made this international news. This guy was in jail and he Twittered it, and people came in and got him out. And it's like CNN just went crazy. I mean, I'm pretty much sure that was how this whole thing kind of went, just full blown. And the next thing you know, Oprah and Ellen, everybody, and so everybody else went, oh, I think I need to go check this out. So a lot of people did what you did. And I think that's why people kind of got the wrong impression when you heard these numbers about Twitter. Twitter's exploding, they have a gazillion users. Well, what happened was everybody decided, oh, well, if Oprah uses it, if CNN is on it, and if Ashton Kutcher, well, we better go get it too. And then, but a lot of people did just do it for a few days or a week or whatever and said, oh, I don't get it,
The statistics on Twitter, the amount of accounts is impressive, but the amount of actual active users is not the same.
Then they say it's really like 10% of the users that make up 90% of the content. And when I read that last year, I was like, I'm so not surprised. That really seems very true.
Yeah, totally. Quick note about MySpace. Do you find it still relevant?
Absolutely.
For artists?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, a couple of years ago, an industry peer blogged, MySpace is dead. And I'm like, no, it's not. And so, I mean, I have been very adamant about this. And here's the thing. MySpace, like a lot of these social networks, they just have their ups and downs. They drive us crazy. They do stuff. I mean, Facebook they just changed their homepage, made everybody crazy. They do these things that drive us crazy. They should just stay the way they are, but they don't. So just deal with it. Okay, but MySpace is still, and we talked about this on my panel today, MySpace is still the #1 music site. Yeah. It has been for a long time, and that's not going to change. You heard all of us on the panel, except for that one girl on the end, say, where do we go to check out your music? We're going to go to MySpace. That's the first place I want to go. Yeah. Even if I go to your website, when I'm on your homepage, I'm looking for that MySpace link, and I'm always surprised when somebody doesn't have that. Your homepage, your .com homepage should have all your social networks, you know, ideally small little icons or logos or something that will take us, because when I go to your website, I'm interested, and I said this on the panel, I'm interested in your MySpace first, because I want to see what you look like, I want to see where you're based, I want to see where you're playing, I want to hear your music real quick. Then I want to go to your Facebook, because I want to see what the personality is. Facebook brings out the personality. And I feel that's really important to go check out. So as an industry person, MySpace, #1, that's not going to change. So I tell people, you don't have to go out and do a gazillion friend ads if you don't want to. If you want to, great. There's nothing wrong with doing it. Numbers still are impressive.
Yeah.
You know, some people say, oh, they're not. They are.
Yeah.
And all the industry people will say they do look at, we all look at the numbers.
We all look at the numbers.
Heck yeah. And we know when you're cheating. Oh my God. When I see that you've had 1 million song plays, but you have 5,000 friends, hello, we're smarter than that. So yeah, when you hire those services to go increase your song plays, not a smart idea. You're wasting your money. But I tell people, keep your content fresh, still log in, because also I'm always looking at the login data. I want to know if they're utilizing it and doing anything and staying active. So keep it up to date. Check in it once in a while, at minimum.
Yeah, exactly. I know as someone who books a venue, that's still where I go.
Yeah.
MySpace. And if I go to an artist's website and I can't find their link for MySpace and I have to look for it, I won't bother.
Yeah.
I want to see the MySpace and I won't go to the website for music because it's always in a different spot.
Right.
Sometimes you can't even find it. Sometimes you don't even have their music on their website. So MySpace, in that regard, is still very relevant. Artists need to keep their calendar up to date.
Yes, we talked about that today on the panel.
Drives me nuts.
And you know what? The simplest solution to that I tell people is, if you have a hard time keeping up, or you can't do it yourself, you gotta have your web guy do it. It takes them a week or two to do it. Go to Reverb Nation, use their free services.
Yeah.
You can go and put in your dates, get the calendar widget, just some HTML code, put it on your website. You don't have to go back to your website to update it. Every time you update on Reverb Nation, it automatically updates on your website or anywhere else that you have it, and MySpace, wherever. And that is the best way to do it.
Perfect. Tell me a little bit about, I started off with GoGirls Music and I'll end off with social networking for musicians. So tell me a little bit about that company and what you do for artists.
Well, again, I'm a techie in the music business, and it's really interesting because when I started GoGirls in 1996, I also started a web development company, and a lot of people don't know this. They just didn't realize that I had this whole techie side to me. So I had my web development company, and people don't realize that I was doing that because I didn't cater to bands. I did small, medium, and large, mostly medium and large businesses, because that was the best way to make the living. That's how I made my living for a very long time. And also, I don't know if this surprises people, I do not make my living with GoGirls. GoGirls is something I do for the love of it. I've always loved helping people. This is something I'm very passionate about. It's been over 14 years. The money we bring in from our GoGirls Elite memberships, and really that's the only money that comes in. It's just through membership, allows us to come to places like this and have this event for our showcasing artists, for doing the live broadcast for people to watch online. That's what it does. It doesn't support me in any way. It's that's why I'm always juggling so many different things, and people call me crazy. But it was my web development business for actually 11 years, and I got really burned out. And the social network, I was kind of doing the web development, GoGirls, and I was really started doing the social networks, but I was doing it for friends, musician friends, and then realizing, I really like to spend more time on this. I really like to make this more of a business, and being like, GoGirls Music. I like having businesses. Like my web business was called Orbit Web Design. I always come up with, that's just part of my entrepreneurship. I come up with names that say what it is, and I think that's a smart way to do business. And I thought, well, what is it I'm doing? I'm doing social networks for musicians. I do it for businesses too, but I came up with socialnetworksformusicians.com, and then I thought, well, that's kind of long to type. So I also went and got sn4m.com. And so you can get to our site either way. So that's how I kind of, started realizing, okay, I'm going to treat this as a business, and been basically doing that since 2005, helping independent artists and bands and music businesses. But really, I can help anybody, any type of business that needs help with their social networks.
Awesome. Actually, one more question. Talking about conferences like Folk Alliance, what advice would you give to artists who are coming to a conference like this for the first time?
First timers.
First timers. What would you say? Whether it's this conference or South by Southwest, you go to a lot. You do a lot of conferences.
I do a lot.
And
I've done a lot of conferences.
What advice would you give to artists who are going for the first time, or excited but not really sure what they're going to get out of it? What should they be getting out of it? What should they expect?
That's such a good question because, you know, it's interesting. Here at Folk Alliance, when we do our GoGirls at Folk Alliance, a lot of people is like, this is their first time here. And I'm like, really? You've never been here before? It's not something you've done? They're like, no. I mean, this is all new for me. And can somebody just press on my little pad thing to make sure it just went to like a, I don't think it turned off. It just went to like a, yeah, okay, good, thank you. But the biggest thing when it comes to this, and I think a lot of people that are here for the first time, they're learning. It's like, and I always say, get your feet wet, come check it out, you know, and see what it's all about. But the bottom line is it's all about networking. So have business cards, have CDs, you know, have like a backpack or something with you so at all times you've got stuff to give out because you never know. I mean, I'm constantly like, you know, running into somebody in the elevator, you know, or in the hallway, and I've seen a lot of our Go-Girls from past years. They're not playing with us this year, but have played with us years before, and I'm bumping into a whole bunch, you know, we're like chatting for a minute. I'm like, hey, you know, where are you going to be playing this week and where can I see you? The smart ones whip out a flyer, here's where I'm playing, and that's brilliant, you know, and I'm hoping that those and those are usually the ones that have kind of been here, they've been around the block, they know, you know, how to do this, but it's about networking, getting out, and you know, some people come here and they're overwhelmed, not sure what to do, so they kind of hold themselves up in their hotel room. Don't ever do that. And that's what, you know, like we've been hanging out with Kimpy like since we met her on Wednesday, and it's like, come with us. Hey, we're gonna go get some lunch. Come with us. Come get, you know, we're gonna come hang out in the room. You know, and we don't want anybody to feel like they don't have somewhere to go or anybody to hang out with, because the key is you just got to be out there. You got to be seen. You got to be talking to people. You get out what you put in.
That's great advice.
Fun.
Madalyn, thank you for
Thank
taking the time to talk to me.
you, Dave.
This was fun.
Thanks for coming and doing this, and hope you guys watching the live broadcast are enjoying this. This is Cynthia, who does the room right next door to us, one of our Go-Girls.
Delivery from Amos Catering Service on XRS.
What'd you bring?
Holland snacks.
Ooh.
But if you wanted cheese and hummus and bagel chips, you gotta come over there.
I gotta come over there. Okay.
Mine.
Ooh. Wow. And a brownie. I'm covering this so nobody. We don't want anybody to know.
You already saw it.
It's
Well,
easy.
y'all know
easy.
better than to touch it.
No,
I mean, for everybody else that starts coming in here later.
Madalyn, we've got that line covered.
Okay.
Unauthorized people that try to get to your food, you say, this is weird Jewish food, it will make your hair frizz.
That's a good one, Cynthia. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're awesome.
Oh, we had a great time. We've adopted 3 more musical kids now.
You always do. You always do.
We're getting them all over the world.
I know.
I tell you what, the trouble is,
Stop.
we're
That was
adopting so many musical kids.